My creations are drowning in the sea. This is not the time to sing. You don't dance on somebody's grave, so to speak. And if the Egyptians are drowning, this is not the time to sing. And the obvious question is, why did he silence the angels, but he didn't silence the Jewish people? You don't find Hashem told Moshe, stop. So there are a couple of answers. One answer, there are many answers. One answer is that, why did the angels sing? Because they're singing God's glory. That's what they're doing. So God says, don't sing my glory now. Human beings are drowning, don't sing my glory now. Why did you sing it? Not for God's glory. That's not the main reason. They're singing because they feel the obligation to express their gratitude for what took place. It's for their own personal development, to internalize the miracle that took place over here. Because by the way, miracles never impact a person. It's the lesson that you choose to internalize from the miracle that can impact. Miracles themselves, that's an important lesson, by the way. And that's another reason why the Jews kept backtracking, despite the miracles. I know, let's talk tachlis here. A guy's struggling with God. God, I'm not sure I believe in God. So you make a deal with God. Say, God, do me a favor. I'm not sure you really exist. Here's the deal. I know you don't want to make miracles for everybody. Well, showy. Here's the deal. You're in the shower. He said, God, you levitate this bar of soap. Just between me and you. This soap goes up a couple of feet. I'm yours. Done, right? And all of a sudden, the soap goes like this, right? You know what happens a year from now? It's gone and forgotten. Unless you took that lesson to heart, you've internalized it and start putting it into practice. But miracles don't change the person unless you take the lesson of the miracle and internalize it. The Jews experienced many miracles because they didn't choose to internalize them properly. So here, they wanted to express their gratitude, so that had an impact on them. So God didn't silence them. If the angels sing just for God's glory, God says, don't sing my glory now. Timing's not great. Jews were doing it for different reasons. It was for their own, they needed that for their growth. They needed it, so God didn't stop them. That's one explanation. The other explanation, very beautiful explanation, is like this. And that is, we know that angels are not multitaskers. They can't do two things at once, right? And the basic reason is because an angel, by definition, means a task assigned. As the Maral actually says, if an angel could do two things, he'd be two angels. Because by definition, an angel means assigned a task, a singular task. Okay, so God had to silence the angels, because if the angels sing God's praise, they can't feel the pain at the same time. For the Egyptians drowning. A human being is capable of carrying on simultaneous emotions, not even opposite emotions. It's not been once in my life, unfortunately, where I had to go to a wedding in the morning and dance at somebody's wedding a little later in the afternoon with a heavy heart and be happy at the same time. The human being is capable of carrying on those emotions. And so God didn't stop the Jews from singing God's praise, because it was not necessarily in conflict with them also feeling the pain of the Egyptians drowning. It didn't have to be inconsistent. It could be both. For the angels, one or the other. So God says, bad timing, don't sing my praise now. The Jew is able, has the ability, and therefore the responsibility. And I think about it, we're obligated to love God and fear God. Those are really opposite emotions. We're obligated to love our parent and feel or respect our parent. Those are opposite emotions. And we're able to carry them on simultaneously. That's what it's all about.
How about
yes.
the idea that the Jews suffered, whereas the angel didn't, really?
Whereas what?
The angel did not suffer. They were not the...
And therefore what? You're right. And therefore the Jews needed to express their gratitude, and the angels didn't have to. Exactly right. That's the point I'm trying to make. All right. Yes?
Rabbi Foreman has an insight that reinforces the way you've been telling the story. He said that whenever there is a problem, the Jews were complaining to Moshe and Aaron. What God wanted was the Jews to have a conversation and relationship with God. They should have complained to God. And Moshe and Aaron had to teach them, you have a problem, stop and have your conversation with God. That's one of the lessons they had to learn. And the reason for war, problems with food, problems with water, all these issues was so that the Jews would learn when they had a problem, they had to look to God, and it was God who was
and not only that,
everything.
They relied too heavily upon Moshe for everything. In fact, that's why by the splitting of the sea, what does Hashem say to Moshe? He says, stop, don't don't pray to me anymore. Tell the Jewish people to go. And the Meish Chacham actually says, tell them to go first. You go behind. Meaning, don't let them rely on you, that you show your faith and that they're willing to go up to the sea and then they'll follow you. No. Let them go first. Now it's their time to assume responsibility. Let them go first. So they should go first. You go last. Let them be the ones. It's time to wean themselves off Moshe and take ownership themselves. Absolutely. Let's just finish one point. When it comes to the song, so it says Miriam and the women also sang songs. Just a kind of interesting point. But it says, and the women went out with drums and they danced, right? Now, the drums, these percussion instruments, whatever they were, we don't find the men having drums either. Right? It's only the women had. So the Orach HaStim is an interesting thing. The Orach HaStim said that the women, in general, are greater believers. They have more natural mood than men. And so the women were more confident that they'd be singing this song than the men were. So they took out of Egypt the drums because they knew they were going to play. It's interesting that it says that point. Okay. Famous, one more thing they complained about was the water. Right? Right? They complained about the water. It's a very famous Baal Shem Tov, which we'll show you in a second. So they complained. They couldn't drink the water. Because the water was bitter. They couldn't drink that water. So Baal Shem Tov, classic. Baal Shem Tov says, the word haim is not going back on the water. It's going back on the Jewish people. The Jewish people were bitter. Not the water was bitter. The Jewish people were bitter, and therefore the water tasted bitter. In other words, a guy goes to the doctor. Just the doctor, doctor, I understand, I do this to my forehead hurts. I hit my hips hurt. I hit my knees hurt. What's going on in my body? Doctor said, let me see. Oh, I got it. Your finger's broken. All right? It's not your hip. It's not your, all right? When people complain about this, and this, maybe it's not this. Maybe you got the problem, right? Mm-hmm. The Jews were bitter, and therefore everything else was bitter. They were bitter, and therefore the water tasted bitter. Very important.
Wasn't that right after they crossed the Red Sea?
Yes.
So how could they be bitter after that?
That's the $1 million question of okay, I don't want to get into this now, but I'll just start it now. It's for another conversation. It's kind of a strange thing that this constant testing, the Jewish people constantly testing God. It doesn't make much sense. Why they complain about testing God? Remember they had at the Treaty of Versailles, which I don't remember the date of the Treaty of Versailles. It was
1919.
After World War I, right? Okay. So it seems that after World War II, there was, or after World War II, they wanted to review the treaty and do the same parties and see what they come up again. And at the end they said, we're not doing it. What's the idea? No, it's like, let's say you made a decision, and now you want to say, let me revisit the decision and look at it again. You don't do that. Why? Because you never know a fly is going to fly into the ointment when you do that. In other words, once you make a decision, you stick with the decision. In other words, you get married, make a decision. You don't get up every morning and say, let me think, was that the right decision? Not a good idea, right? Not a good idea, right? Even though you're saying, no, I want to think it because then I'll appreciate my marriage more. It's not a healthy way of thinking. It's not a healthy way of living. The Jews kept making that mistake. When they were testing God, they were saying, God, let's think about this one more time. Why am I taking this on? Why am I taking on this relationship with you? And they kept they didn't believe in themselves. They didn't trust their decision. And they kept opening up the question again. Do we have this relation? Should we have this relation? And that's why every time they opened it up, another fly came into the ointment. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what they kept trying to. They were testing themselves and that relation.
That's why they weren't worthy of going into the land. They had to, that generation had to die off because they had bad attitude.
Yep.
Wasn't that because they were slaves for so many years?
That's also true. They had a slave mentality. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I'll just end with one last thought.
Rabbi, there is a difference between the two Shirah. For Az Yashir Moshe Ubnei Israel, and then for the case
Miriam?
Miriam, it says Shirul LaHashem. I want you to sing. So she's commanding people, the women, to do the sing.
Interesting.
In the other case,
interesting. Yeah, it's true. That's true. It's interesting. We have to think about that. The Medrash says by Oz Yoshir Moshe. Yoshir actually is future. Then Moshe will sing. Correct. It's kind of strange. So the Medrash says Mikan. From here you see.
From here to the end.
But we'll see. Mikan l'tchias hamesim in the Torah. This is the proof that tchias hamesim exists because Oz Yoshir means sometime in the future they'll sing. It's kind of very strange metric. What does it mean? What does Tchias HaMitzvah mean? What's going on over here? I want to show you the interesting story. After World War II, the Belzer Rav, famous Belzer Rav, who was a saint, he literally didn't eat, didn't sleep. He slept a couple hours a night. He ate almost nothing. He was a very holy person. He escaped the war, and how he escaped is like miracle upon miracles. One story where the Nazis kind of inspected the car. They dismissed him. They didn't see him in the car. It was like a crazy stories, famous stories. Anyway, bottom line, he goes to Israel. That's where he lives. His first Shabbos in Israel was Parashat Beshalach. And he has like, I can't even call it a tish because it was, just a handful of people, but they got together after davening, after the meal, and he sat with them. With a handful of Jews, broken Jews, after the war, what they have, the families were all gone, decimated. And he asked this question. What's Oz Yoshi Moshe now Moshe singing about Tchias HaMitzvah? What's going on over here? He said, because we have to understand that at the height of their joy, because now this is the final redemption, when they rid themselves of the Egyptians, they realized 4/5 of the Jews didn't make it out. 80% of the Jews are gone. They're dead. They're gone. People lost families. Oz Yoshi Moshe said, but one day they're all going to come back. They're going to come back. Oz Yoshia was a way of letting them know that we're going to rebuild. We're decimated now, but we're going to rebuild. And that's the message he told these few Jews that surrounded his table right after World War II. We're decimated now, but we're going to rebuild. We're a nation of destiny. We're going to rebuild. And that was the words he used based on this parsha. And with one thought about Emunah, and we'll end over here. At the end of the parsha, it says, we know when he was battling Amalek, so that when Moshe's hands were up, they looked upwards, they davened, they were victorious. His hands went down, and they were not victorious. So what they do, they put the stone under his hands, right? If you look at page 392, Pasuk Yud Beis. Actually, it says the letter Yud Gimel right next to it, but it's Yud Beis. Right? They put the stone under his hands, right? This Aaron and Hur, right? I'm sorry, they support, right? They Evan, and they put it under him, and they support his hands, right? What does it say here? They took a stone, put it under him, and he sat on it, right? And then they supported his hands, right? They held his hands up, right? So he sat on the stone, they supported his hands. With me so far? Yes? Okay. And then it says, Vayihi Yodav Amunah, and it says in English, with his hands in faithful prayer. Now, that word prayer is not in the Torah. It doesn't say it at all. It says, Vayihi Yodav Amunah. There's nothing about prayer over there. So Rashi does say, Vayi Yodav Amunah means, Vayi Moshe Yodav Amunah, Prush Shemayim B'Tfilah. Right? His hands were involved, fixed in prayer. But it doesn't say that. It says, Vayi Yodav Amunah. His hands were faith. That makes no sense. Okay, you want to fix it up. It doesn't mean his hands were praying in faith. It doesn't say it. It says his hands were faith. It's teaching us really what Amunah is. Christians believe Amunah is something abstract. It's called faith. We don't believe in it. We say, Ani mamin be'emunah shlema. I believe with perfect faith. And whatever it is, I believe in shlema, it could be Mashiach, it could be Hashem is one, right? Can a person have perfect faith? Can an imperfect person have perfect faith? People have doubts. What does it mean to have perfect faith? Treat the matter as the word emunah does not mean faith. It's not really a great translation. It means faithful. There's a difference between faith and faithful. Faith is in the abstract. Faithful is how you conduct yourself. Right? I'll give you an example. Again, marriage. You decide, this is the person I'm going to marry. And you're 98% sure this is the right person for you. That's pretty good percentage. 90% sure. You only be 98% faithful? I sure heck hope not, right? You can be 100% faithful even though you're only 98% sure. You can act with 100% faithfulness even if you only have 90% faith. A Jew can have svekis, doubts, and faith, but it doesn't mean it stops him from acting faithfully. Vayi Yodav Amunah means his hands were steady. They became steady. Faithful means I'm consistent. I'm faithful. That's what it means. A Jew is obligated to be emunah, to act with faithfulness. Even when we have doubts, times when we question, we don't understand, but we can still act faithfully. That's what Yodav Amunah actually means. His hands were consistent, but they were faithful. Meaning they were consistent. They didn't go up and down. And so really, emunah is not relegated to the abstract. You believe in this guy, you believe in Jay, and you'll solve a problem. No, you have to act faithfully. And that's how you become a better person.
Being faithful to a concept or to commandments or
Both, to God and to commandments. Being faithful means acting. It's a consistent action.
it's behavior.
Yes, behavior as opposed to just relegated to the mind.
Yeah, the Christian thing is
It's
just,
only that.
it's a leap of faith.
And all that, it's only that. I once saw, and I don't mean to disparage anything at this point, but I remember seeing a billboard a couple of years back, and it said, believe in, Jay, and then and it says, you become a better person. I forgot the exact language. No, that's not what you say. It's just, if you want to become a better person, you have to act faith, you have to do those things exercise that you need to become a better person. But it's just believe and everything's solved. It doesn't work that way. It's not faith, it's about acting faithfully.
So how does that tie in with the first thing we say in the morning, Reishis Chachma Yirat Hashem?
What?
Is it the same thing? In other words, fear of God is being faithful?
It says, what is it, faith?
Reishis,
But what it says, Reishis, the beginning of wisdom.
the beginning of wisdom is fear of God.
What is it with faithfulness? You lost me on that one.
I'm asking you, does that mean the same thing?
No. That's something else. Reish Chamisha means something else. That means that okay, so it means that basically that you have to have a framework of fear of God as your frame when you want to learn wisdom. In other words, every time you study wisdom, you have a certain basic conceptions that you accept, certain principles you accept, and then based on those, you're able to filter in the wisdom you want to filter. So Reishis Chachma has to begin with Yiras Hashem. When you begin with the premise of fear of God, that's how you're able to develop your wisdom. If you don't have that premise to begin with, and you try to collect wisdom, it's going to be distorted wisdom. I mean something else, but it's a different conversation.
Okay.
It's a different conversation.
Okay.
So bottom line is, we covered today Vayhi of Paro, that Paro in a strange way was actually nostalgic about those good old days being beat over the head. Explained that really means that looking back, we appreciate what the struggle is all about. The uz of the struggle now becomes the uz of Shira. Moshe Rabbeinu looks back and realizes, right, that in retrospect, that the struggle was really something powerful. The pauses in life are part of the song. The fact that a person in life has to be able to carry on simultaneous emotions at the same time. It's important to be able to juggle sometimes different emotions at the same time. By the way, it's really, I remember I had, just a few years ago, somebody in the community passed away, a young boy at a very early age, a tragedy. And that day, there was supposed to be bar mitzvah in the shul. One of the main members of the shul was home, and he was very conflicted. Can I have a bar mitzvah if everyone's just... They had a funeral in that same shul, literally hours earlier. And I said, you have to go on. You have to. First of all, it's not for the bar mitzvah boy. It's his day. You can't take it away from him. And number two, that's life. Life is you have to be able to do both at once. Now, of course, the person sitting Shiva is obligated to only focus on the parent. That's a different concept, or the child, whatever the case is. But that's an important concept, that we're able to do two things at once, and it doesn't have to be a conflict necessarily. And then we learned about the idea of Amunah. We learned about being in charge of food rather than food being in charge of you. And the lesson of the Mun as well, that just because somebody else has it shouldn't take away from the pleasure that you should be having as well. Focus on that which you have, not what you don't have, and or that somebody else doesn't have. But focus on what makes you pleasurable. And it's rather silly and sad if you're not happy with that beautiful home that you have because somebody else has the same home. Right?
We'll
stop here.
Believe me, after I'm going to build that $3 million house in a lot that's far away from everybody.
There you got to do it. That's it.
That's my takeaway tonight.
תורה וידיר.